10 years and 15 inches ago, I was killing time and monsters with my tiny tin soldiers while Father finished up work. Suddenly, a shadow crawled over my toy army, and a cane knocked over my front line. "Bring your kids to work day, is it?" he barked at my father. That was my first encounter with Woolfe. It haunted me for many nights.
Woolfe, the Red Hood Diaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of this game. Actually, the Little Red Riding Hood was a film way back in the day. They made like a horror movie where she like fell in love with a sexy werewolf or something. So like we've gotten some weird different takes on this grand legend of fairy tale lore.
Yeah, and like Wolf Among Us was so popular over the last year that I think that everybody's going to be gravitating to this kind of alternate
and
fairy
it does
tale story.
remind me a little bit of Alice, of the Alice franchise, where you take a beloved series that you can make kind of gothic and creepy and make it actiony. Give the female heroine a giant weapon and just smack.
Oh yeah, she's got like a great axe, and it's funny that you say that because I was sitting playing at my desk and Ben walked up behind me and he's like, "This looks like Alice," and I was like, "Yep, it does." It's a little different. It's like 2.5D platformer puzzler kind of thing. It's really really pretty, and the character of Red Riding Hood is really 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 well done. She's really cool looking. I have to preface everything by saying that, and the publishers know this, and the devs know this, and they've said it on their blog. But the game, it still has a lot of work that it has to.
Is it out yet? Or?
No.
Okay.
These are so I got to play, and you can play them too. I think they're just on Steam beta, but 3 of the alpha levels that they showed at Gamescom. And one is, I wrote them down, one is Suicide, Meaner Pastures, and Heavy Metal, which I thought Heavy Metal was such a cool name because you're in like a factory and it's all steel, and I like stuff like that. But
were they playing metal where you were going through it?
No, you're
just kind of like
you're
fantasy music?
Yeah, fantasy music, that kind of thing. I know. But the game, it does have a lot of bugs. There's stuff that still needs.
That you fight? Do you hack with
no,
your axe?
Well, yes, actually, yes, it does. It has 2 kinds of bugs.
It's like in the sewer, right? What was the?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The
Suicide, was that the name of it?
Suicide. I feel like I never know the way to approach these Just Playeds. Do I give a description of the game first, or because there's a little bit of story behind this game.
Behind the lore or the development? Oh, okay.
The lore, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's called Woolfe. WOOLFE.
Yes.
So is that like her name or?
No, the person that you as Red Riding Hood are seeking vengeance on is a businessman named Woolfe, WOOLFE, and he owns Woolfe factories in the city, and you head there because you blame him for your father's death, because your father died in an accident at the factory, but you kind of think there's more to it. And I guess you're sort of looking for your mother. The basic premise is that your father went to live with your grandmother in the woods after your mother disappeared, or who you believe is your mother, and then you go to avenge your father. But I think there's more to it, and we'll see.
Well, one of the big things, if you're going to make, again, the comparison to Alice, do you think that would upset them, the developers? I'm always curious about that when we make comparisons to games. The developers are like, will you stop comparing it to Alice?
Because they weren't going for that at all.
Right. But I mean, the one thing that franchise does have is if anybody, I've seen really bad student films that are like, our version of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
And every time you take that story and run with it, it's like, oh, what's the March Hare going to be like? What's, the Caterpillar going to be like? What's the Mad Hatter going to be like? And in this, there's Grandma, Little Red, the wolf, and the huntsman.
Yeah, so far I've only seen Red.
Okay.
And she looks awesome. She's a really, really cool character design, and her with her axe is really badass. But I haven't seen that. I'm hoping that there will be a lot of that take on the Red Riding Hood story and lore, and we'll see it.
Like Hansel and Gretel show up, and you guys just hash it out.
Maybe. I know the bosses are supposed to be takes on all these kind of fairy tale villains.
Is it tough at all? Is it a challenging game? Is there depth to the combat?
Right now, it's funny because there were parts where I was like, damn, I feel like I missed that jump, but it's weird. Is that supposed to be that way? And I was reading on the blog that there are kinks. Things aren't, if you make a mistake in the game, that might be because of the actual game right now, not because it's supposed to be designed that way. It's definitely inventive. Like there are those puzzles that are timed puzzles where you're moving around the environment and then you're trying to run around and make it through a gate in a certain amount of time. That kind of puzzle, or you're just working with your environment to get where you need to be going. And right now you don't have any combo abilities in the beta. So when you're battling the few enemies you encounter, it is kind of frustrating because you're just basically swiping at them. But I think when you do have combos and you're building combos, and as the game progresses, it's going to be really, really cool with that giant axe and what any other weapons you might come across.
Do you know if there are other weapons? Have they talked about that at all? Or?
Oh,
Because you seem excited about that axe. You've brought up the axe like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I'm actually glad Bloodworth sent me this game, and I'm actually really glad he did, because I think I will definitely play it.
Oh, okay. Play this version of it more, or when the full game comes out?
When the full game comes out. I definitely want to play it, and I like the axe. I think it's neat. I like that they gave her a weapon that clearly is half the size of her. I think that's kind of cool and empowering.
So, I mean, I'm going to try to bring up Alice as many times as I possibly can in this conversation. But the last version that we got was a buggy game.
Yeah.
It had a lot of weird platforming issues and clipping through stuff and enemies vanishing. So do you think it's kind of refreshing that the dev team ahead of time is like, this is a very stylized game, we're still kind of molding it, so just understand that it is in the shape that it's in?
I love when developers acknowledge that they are still working on a game, and I actually feel really bad when we do reports like this and they're on those unfinished games, because I feel like they might be watching and thinking, okay guys, like just here's how, just give us, because the game doesn't come out until this spring.
Okay.
So I feel like we're not giving them a fair shake. Yeah, they're doing us the service of letting us try what they've created so far, and it was kickstarted, so I think a lot of that is kind of fan service to the people that are supporting them, and that like, this is what we're working on and you can see it and it's because of you. So please understand that there are going to be problems.
All right, we'll back off. We'll dance around the issues.
Yeah, so I can, and it gets frustrating when you play an unfinished game like that, but then I guess you have to keep that in mind.
So yeah, style-wise, go check out the game, see if it's your kind of vibe. It's just on Steam for right now, or how did you?
It's just on Steam right now. I don't actually know if it's going to be released on multiple platforms.
But okay, so we're being light on the game now because it's still in development, and we're just getting a small slice of it now. But the gloves come off in the spring.
Oh yeah, I'm going to shit all over.
When we go back for another Just Played episode, and you'll have your red hood on.
Oh, I do have a red hood at my desk, actually.
Right now?
I should have worn it for the whole Just Played. Damn it. Thanks, Omar.